How's it going? Another Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, questions and answers during a time of remote workflows. I am Nate Mumford with RCS, and we are rebranding all of that good stuff to RCS Live. That's right, RCS Live is, in fact, live. We're here taking your questions and comments and all of that good stuff. So, of course, if you have a remote workflow, something you want to talk about with one of our RCS products, you can comment below. Good morning, V. Thank you very much. You can also go and email us live at rcsworks.com. You can direct message us, or as I said, you can comment below and we'll answer your questions live in real time. For today, I thought, it's been a while. Let's go back and review some of the remote workflows, especially during, COVID and all of that good stuff, because as people start kind of slowly migrating, we're here in the Northeast, so it's kind of, we're a little opening up versus other areas of the country. But we're seeing some businesses here that will start to utilize these hybrid workflows. And so I just thought, in case you missed one of the earlier videos, we would just kind of revisit it and review some of the cool features that you can do with, all of the RCS products. So you can see here, I have a lot of tabs open. I'm using Chrome right now. We're gonna go through the entire process: scheduling, making changes to your database, adding new audio, voice tracking, the Revma conference app to broadcast live, Zeta Cloud for disaster recovery, and of course, Acquira to go for contracts, all the good stuff. So Henrik, hello, thank you for checking in. And so get your comments in here, and I'll just go right through. As always, a little housekeeping on my end. Do not forget, we're looking for beta users for Zeta 5.20.1. That is a couple days away as well. So if you want the latest and greatest and see all those cool features, let me know. I'll point you the right direction for that beta user. Same thing applies with G-Selector. It's just a matter of we're in between right now in development. So the next version there is going to be 4.9.0, which I believe is about a month or so away, just in case you're keeping track. FTS, our Field Technician Services team, is out and about if you want them to. We also have a FTS portal. You can log in to get all of the kind of heavy lifting out of the way first. So in case you are not really on site just yet, you need to kind of do a hybrid in regards to your Zeta installation, we can help you there as well. And working from home. If you're working from home, send us your photos and send us your name and where you're working from so we can send you an RCS goodie bag as well. We love to see the ways that you are utilizing our to-go line of products or how you're working from home. So if you want to send that to us, again, live at rcsworks.com. A lot of you have been sending it direct message. Perfectly fine. We love it. So if you want to send your pictures in, we'll go from there as well. So I thought we'd dive right in here and just kind of talk about some of these remote workflows. There's a URL on our website breaking down all these remote workflows. It's remote.rcsworks.com. I can show you that in a second. But essentially, want to talk about interpreting these workflows, right? We're starting from scratch here in the sense that we're just going, I thought it was a text message in regards to the Facebook Live. So what we want to do here essentially is starting with the actual, metadata. And of course, oh yeah, there you go. Had this all queued up, but of course it's 20 minutes beforehand. So yes, it's a good exercise. You'll see that Selector to Go does have an automatic timer. So after 20 minutes inactivity, we'll sign you off. Use the same credentials as you would normally. Again, this is Selector to Go, right? So the idea here is Selector to Go is associated with your G selector. And just very briefly here, you can see these are my stations that I have. I have the library, linker, clocks, all that good stuff. If I still go back to the library, what I had queued up here was talking about the category changer and your metadata changes. So a lot of us have weekly music meetings that we make all these changes to our categories and all of that good stuff. So I just want to show you here first, kind of just looking at this. I have a couple categories in my demo database. This would be essentially what I would do normally for my weekly music change. And again, you'll notice that I'm using Chrome and I'm just going to my machine name /selector to go. That's the URL. And in case you have G Selector right now, Selector to Go is part of your package. It's included right now. You can go right now to Selector to Go. The biggest thing with all of our line of to-go products is, of course, you want to make sure that you have a VPN, right, for security purposes. That's going to be on you because that's your network infrastructure, and depending on how you want to do that. So just so you know, in the way we're working with all of these, you're going to essentially have open your laptop, you have a VPN, you log in. That gives you access to all of these URLs. Again, URL. We're not downloading anything. There's no apps. You can bounce around whatever device you want. So we're talking about Android, iPhone, Mac, PC, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, all of that good stuff you can utilize. If you can go to a browser and go to the internet, you can go to any of these to-go products. Just want to show you here. So again, if let's say I want to take the Selena Gomez song, move it over, the same thing applies. I can drag and drop. I can drag and drop. That's going to save my changes. And just like that, I, of course, made my music changes for the week. Awesome. We're good to go. From there, I want to show you a little tip here, just in case you're wondering if you have multiple stations in Selector to Go, or if you're doing multiple functionality, you can actually tab these over. I'm going to just kind of bring this down for 1 second because I want to show you exactly where we are here. So I can have literally the on-air here. I can have the library. I can then have the schedule, and then I can have the editor right here as well. And I had these all queued up, so I'm just going to kind of leave this here just because I want to show you for time purposes. So library, making metadata changes, awesome. We can do that in Selector to Go. We can also add new elements as well. Remember, if you have G Selector in Zeta, it's the brain and the brawn of the two operations. So me personally, if I am adding audio, if I'm adding an element into the system, I would do it in Zeta first because that's going to create the audio in the metadata. And since there's 100% live integration between the two, we're essentially going to have the same metadata get carried over into G Selector. G Selector just has the advanced metadata fields in regards to how to schedule it, like sound codes and stuff like that. So if it was me personally, I'd recommend putting the audio in first in Zeta, then making those scheduling and attribute changes in Selector to Go. So we made our music changes. Fantastic. We jump over here to essentially the scheduler. But at this point in time, we have just the usual thing. This shouldn't look unfamiliar to you. We maintain the color structure of your G Selector and carry it over into Selector to Go. So pick your date range, pick your schedule here. What if you want to unschedule days too? There's integrate traffic options. There's publication statuses if you have an S3. But this should look pretty familiar to you. And you want to pick your date range, highlight it, and you can also schedule that entire date range. And in case you have G Selector integration, in case you have Zeta integration, don't forget there's no need to export a schedule that you see right here, 100% live integrated. If you have Selector to Go with another automation system, this is where you would export your schedule to your automation. Just so you know, there is a configuration that you have to set in your G Selector itself. I'll open that up to show you here very briefly. There's a setting. It's called Save on Server. And what you want to do is essentially go ahead and just enable that. And once you enable it, then you're good to go. Whenever you export a log, be it from Selector to Go or from G Selector, it's going to send right to your automation itself. So when this loads up over here, I'm just going to go. There we go. Perfect. So I'm going to just open up my RTCS Hot AC. And what I'm going to go to is the interface export. That's where I'm going right now. By going to interface export, I'm going to go ahead here and show you that one setting. So it's going to be interface, and I'll make this nice and big for everybody. Just load it up over here. While you're doing that, I'm going to check and make sure I got my comments working here on my Facebook page because they should be working, but I will make sure. I got 2 so far. Boom. All right, let's do that. Awesome. Okay, so you'll see here, interface, export schedule. What you want to do is you want to set the assignment grid. Once you set the assignment grid for your default format, so I just have NextGen in for right now. You can see there's just my Prophet NextGen. Once you set over here in the assignment grid, this is going to give you an option on Save on Server. That's the key, right? Because when I save on the server, the G Selector server is going to be the one who's going to export the log to your automation. In that case, we set the folder, we set the file name, and whenever we export a log, be it from G Selector or we export it right here from the Selector to Go export schedule section, it's going to go to your automation automatically. So just so you know, that's where that is. And then, of course, we jump to another tab. Yes, you'll notice here that I have 3 tabs going on here. I can have work on multiple databases, multiple stations with different tabs. We have essentially here the same color scheme that's getting copied over from my Selector to Go and my G Selector. I got my test bar, failure details, song history. I can replace a song. I can see all my metadata here, making those changes live in real time. And don't forget, of course, when you have the G Selector to Selector to Go, to the Zeta, to the Zeta to go. Everything is correlated in one. So any questions on there, let me know. Otherwise, I'm moving towards our Zeta to go. This is going to be our 419.2 Zeta to go. Don't forget, we're looking for beta users for 5.20.1. That's coming down the pipeline. And I just have the 4-module layout here because I just want to show you. Again, you can control the on-air product right from here. We have the log module down below. Anything can be voice trackable here in your Zeta environment, just so you know. I can do the empty voice track slots. That's right there. Or I can just find 2 songs back to back and voice track there. It's your choice. What you'll need here is the IVT module. That will allow you to voice track and all of that good stuff. So we can control the station from here. We have the log structure down below, and we have, of course, the library here in the top right. So I'm just going to go and pick pink here just to kind of show you what this metadata field looks like. Remember, pro tip, no matter what asset type you're in, if you hit the plus, that's going to give you that metadata window based on the asset type you have opened up. So here you'll see that I have this big arrow. Don't be intimidated by this arrow. What this means essentially is that, don't forget, I am outside of my Zeta network. And that means that I don't have necessarily the audio downloaded because I'm not going to download hundreds of thousands of songs and use that bandwidth when I don't really need to use it. So when you see this logo here, and the same thing applies over here in the hotkeys itself, like if I jump to the local mode, you'll see that these are already downloaded. I'll have to find a new bank for you. You'll see that there's going to be a whole bunch of those downloads that are in here. See that? So don't be discouraged. What that just means, it just means that I haven't downloaded audio on my machine just yet. That's all that it means. I can click this here. It's going to download all of the audio. And then what you'll see here is all of my marks that are here. So I can set all of my marks as I would normally, as well as the hooks and loops. And of course, there's some other options here. If I go to my actual RCS Hot AC, you'll see I have my extra tab. That's my playback method, all of that good stuff. I also have my station-specific options, if it's active, not active on my stations, so on and so forth. As you can tell here, I always tell users, Zeta to go is not made to replace the Zeta client experience. It's made to enhance our experience. So as I was saying beforehand, if you're looking to add audio, start with Zeta to go, put in all of your good stuff, then jump to Selector to go, and finish up the metadata over in Selector to go. But this is literally just a drag and drop. If I'm adding brand new audio, I can drag and drop in here. I can also use Windows Explorer to find a file and drag and drop it in as well. We had a great question from one of our users last week, was talking about what they can do in regards to adding multiple assets into Zeta to go. He was a production director, adding a lot of spots. Obviously, right now, this is a one-to-one drag and drop into the metadata window because obviously we're picking up one element. We are adding one piece of audio, and we're calling it a day. But here's the cool thing. If you have a VPN access to your Zeta to go, most likely that means that you'll probably have some type of shared path or access to a path on the file server itself. If that's the case, what I would do is create some kind of FTP connection or some kind of Windows shortcut, and essentially you would go and create an auto import location there. So jumping back to my local Zeta, right? I'm back in the studio. Remember, configuration and system. We're going to specify a location, and that location is going to be assigned a task. So here's my location here. So you can see I have just a generic temp folder. I have a support FTP, my credentials on here as well. So in theory, if I had a generic FTP or some kind of shared path that I can see that's defined here in Zeta, I can then go to an auto load, have multiple auto loads based on the asset type here. And what I can do is essentially say anytime that you see audio in this location, right? Location being right here, import location. I can then put it into a certain, file type, certain asset type, matching, not matching, put a category on it and all that good stuff. There's advanced features as well here. One thing to make note of is the perform marks analysis. You're probably going to want to keep that enabled. Remember, any kind of marks analysis you have will be done live in real time. So if I add a piece of audio, it will set those marks and go from there. So at that point in time, you can go ahead and set all of these things here. And then once you have those locations and you're good to go, then you can go and you can actually save those assets into that folder path. And then that either A, you set the metadata here, or you have the marks analysis do all of that trim in, trim out, segue points. If you have ID3 metadata tags, we'll import that information as well in there too. So if you're looking to add multiple elements, that is how you can add multiple elements into your Zeta to go. It's just really your choice. So voice tracking on here, very simple. I just click on a transition, go to the IVT. We've covered that a couple times here as well, but just know you can voice track at any transition inside your Zeta logs as well. Let's talk about for a second broadcasting live, right? So far in this process, we've scheduled, we've made our music changes. We then we massaged our logs. We jumped over to Zeta. We either added new audio or now we're kind of broadcasting live. We're voice tracking. We're controlling the station with the on-air module here in the top left. And what we can do is we can utilize Revma's conference app, right? So Revma is kind of our content delivery network. What we have here is this is just my one Revma profile that I have created here, and I have a little conference station. And what that means is I have this conference app right here enabled. Think of the conference app as essentially a little kind of room, a digital room, if you will. And I can invite multiple users at any given time over here, the little plus icon. There's that link. It's a guest link. So I'm going to use a morning show in this scenario. So I'm a morning show. We'll just say there's 3 sources or 3 talent, 3 total voices on here. There would be essentially a producer role. The producer role would go and host the room, create the room, if you will. You don't want to have too many cooks in this kitchen. And so at that point in time, the host will then invite both the other 2 viewers from there, audience from there. At that point in time, just because I invite you and you get that link doesn't mean you get invited into my room. There's a little telephone here that when I invite somebody, it's going to ring and notify me as the host that there are users who want to connect to my conference app. It's a way of checks and balances to make sure that nobody's going to jump into your room and scream something and then jump back out, right? So at that point in time, I invite the rest of my team. I accept them into the room. You might be wondering what your audio sources are. That's going to be whatever your default Windows sources are in your environment, as well as what you have on your internet browser. So I have Chrome, so that's what I'm using right here, and I have my Focusrite USB. That's my input and output device. You can see I got a mic level here as well, and you can hear some little levels based on that circle around my name on here. At this point in time, I have an option to mute. I can also mute my guest if I wanted to, and then I have a little button here that says Go Live. And when I click this, I will literally be broadcasting live from this room. And this room has a little mounting point on here because, again, our content delivery network, Revma, allows us to have multiple URLs and multiple outputs. So I have that URL. Now, right now, I am broadcasting live on that URL from this room. If you go to that URL, you'll hear my voice. Boom, it's right then and there. So what we did is to develop these hybrid workflows when you're working from home and working on the road, is we did here in Zeta to go. Actually, I'll start with Zeta here. I created a link. In this link, if I'm going to sort my sections A to Z, I have here a conference link test. And this is a special little one-off build that we have here that we can enable for you when you have Revma's conference app. It's a playback method, stream URL. Once you establish that playback method, we can put in the URL here. We have to define a target duration and a title of the element. This could be a link or a song. I personally like to put it as a link because, again, it's just kind of a piece of imaging you have in there outside of the song environment. And you don't want to put into a custom asset type just in case you need it for something else. And so at this point in time, I have the same distribution. It's active on RCS Hot AC. Here is my link. And what I did is that I put this into a hotkey bank over here. Remember, any audio or non-audio elements can be dragged and dropped into the hotkeys themselves. If I am off air, you'll notice that I can't do any of my macros and GPOs, but if I'm on air mode, I can play all of these. So if I go and have, let's say, a sync to current time or a play next macro or a change in audio route or a conference link test, if I add those here, I can then jump back to my Zeta to go, and those same elements are right here. Again, on air for on air, and then you have local mode here for any kind of voice tracking locally. That's going to be where you play your music beds and all of that good stuff. Checking over here our comments here. Peter, thanks for checking in. Paul, thank you for checking in as well. If you got any comments, any kind of workflows, just let me know, and I'll talk about them live here in real time. So what we did is we essentially created this conference link test in Zeta. We then assigned it to a hotkey that we can then access from Zeta to go. And this acts as a true kind of portal, an on-off switch, depending on how you interpret that. But I have that URL here. So because I am broadcasting live here, right? And if I go to my Zeta hotkey and I enable this here, I'm going to disable that because we're going to have a delay. You'll hear right there that I am actually live in real time. So I think I disabled my desktop audio, so I don't think you heard that, but just know that I was playing my voice live in real time, opening up the conference app and the conference link test and on the air. So what you do from at that point in time is you use the on-air module to control the sequencer. Great example. I'll put it in live assist. Take this, put this in a stop chain, right? So this is going over here. Silence is wrapping up. I open up the conference link test, and I will put in desktop audio here just so you can see. Now, granted, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going in from this one microphone into my conference app, into my OBS recording software, into Facebook Live, into Zeta to go. So I have a lot of stuff going on here. But you can see I can go here, open this up. You can see I can go here, open this up, and there's my delay. So Beyonce, and there's my delay. So Beyonce, Crazy in Love, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to close that little thing there to close that portal, and then I'll just fire the next element, and just like that, I am back on the air, put on live assist or put it back in auto, and I'm good to go. But you can see with a morning show, I can be on the air and control the on-air sequencer from the left-hand side over here. So again, a very powerful tool. What are you looking to do on Zeta to go? Are you voice tracking, right? What is live, so to speak? I can voice track after Beyonce into this RCS news element. Is it live? Technically not, but the same token, it's pretty much live. It's only like a 2-minute delay, right? That's the magic of radio, so to speak. So I can voice track after Beyonce. I can voice track at any point in time in the logs. I can broadcast live with a conference link. And of course, when I'm done with it, all I do here is just end my conference link. Yes, I'm going to terminate my session and my conference link. That's going to close this portal. I will close this over here. And of course, just shut this down. This URL is not going to do anything when there's no source there as well. So that makes sense too, right? Any questions in regard to that process? I don't see anything in the comments section, so I'll keep going over here. And then finally, I want to talk about Zeta Cloud and Zeta Cloud-based disaster recovery. So all this is going on. The next thing we have to talk about is backups and redundancies. So obviously you could have a file server, backup file server, and all that good stuff. But I will tell you firsthand from a guy who had the first tornado in Connecticut and hurricanes, fires, floods, all these issues going on right now in our country or internationally. There's probably going to be a time at some point that we might have to either lose the studio or there's some kind of hardware issue or just even daily maintenance. By the way, that's also a great tool. If you're doing daily maintenance, you can essentially enable everything on Zeta Cloud. And this is so cool. This is a true URL. Again, no app that you're downloading here. It's available right now for Zeta Cloud-based disaster recovery. I think we still have some specials going on for COVID for you as well. And it's just a URL, us.zetacloud.com. We'll assign you with an Amazon Web Service instance of your Zeta Cloud. That's right. Zeta Cloud is not a virtual machine that's put on an AWS. Instead, we wrote it for Amazon Web Services, following the best practices and securities with AWS. You'll have an Okta login with a 2-step authentication with your email and then, of course, your password. Get that confirmed. You can then go in here and you can control your station. The idea is that we take all of your changes, metadata changes, adding new audio, going over and essentially adding new audio. If I make a change to the log, like a chain type, for example, to a segue to a stop, that's considered a change. That's going to be sent over to your Zeta Cloud via RCS site replication. At that point in time, Zeta Cloud is just sitting, just waiting for you to kind of play out. And if disaster strikes, you go on your phone, you essentially deploy this station here, and I just hit play, queue it up where I wanted to, and boom, I am on the air from Zeta Cloud. Every single one of your Zeta Cloud stations has over here, if I go to config in stations here, you can see that we have a primary, secondary, any kind of limited number of redundancy players you want. We can do that right here. And there's essentially your URL link for playback I personally have mine, again, going to Revma, our content delivery network, because I wanted to have multiple bit rates, multiple output streams. And so what I did is I took Zeta Cloud's encoder, sent it to Revma, and I'm using Revma for my streaming provider over there. So at that point in time, this URL can go to your transmitter site. A lot of transmitters these days have kind of a little URL for a secondary input. You can utilize that to essentially go and create a predefined connection to your transmitter. So if you go offline, open your phone, us.zetacloud.com. No, you do not need a VPN for this. Sign in, go to your station, enable it, and boom, you are good to go. You're broadcasting live. And then, of course, you can voice track on here, pick any of your elements. As you can see here, I can little brand new plus here. There's an insert event, insert voice track. I can also go here and add new audio as well. I can add a song. That's in here too on Zeta Cloud. And very shortly, you can take the Zeta Cloud audio and voice tracks, and they'll get replicated back via site rep to your local Zeta as well. So that's a really cool workflow that's coming down the pipeline too. You can voice track in Zeta Cloud, and that's going to send back to your local Zeta. That's a cool new feature in Zeta 5.20.1 beta users, if you wanted to utilize that. Just saying. Let's see. Steve had a question here. I'll check and see on that. Steve was talking about the retry uploads there. I'll get back to you, Steve. I'll look into that, and I'll direct message you in regard to that one particular thing that you're experiencing there. We'll go from there. And so, yeah, so overall, we're just about out of time here. So get your last minute questions in. Steve, I will comment on you as well. Thank you for checking in. Get your last minute questions in. But again, just to review here, the idea is that we're developing these hybrid workflows today because we are no longer tied to the studio, both pro, as in I want to be more mobile, and I guess you can say con because we don't have access to the actual studio itself. Just throwing this out there, what happens if your engineer comes down with COVID, is on quarantine for 14 days, and your server crashes for whatever reason, right? There was a fire in the station, and the sprinklers turned on and fried some machines. It could be a lot of different ways. Again, just go to your phone, go to us.zetacloud.com, log in your credentials. We'll have your database there, and you can go and enable your stream and be good to go. So that's a really cool feature. Just to review here, again, make your changes. I know I haven't touched it in 20 minutes. I can go and make my changes here inside of Selector to Go. I can have multiple tabs. I can schedule. I can export my schedule. I can also massage my log all from my Selector to Go. Any change I make is live in real time, reflected in G Selector, which of course is connected to Zeta, which of course is connected to Zeta to Go. And you could argue site repped to Zeta Cloud for disaster recovery purposes. Pretty cool stuff. In Zeta to Go, I can control the on-air product from here. I can voice track anywhere I want in my log structure. I can also go here in my library and add audio if you want to add multiple elements. Create that folder, like the location, right? Config, system, create that location here in locations. Define that location in the auto load functionality. Again, you can have multiple. There's no limit on your auto load functionality here. I personally would have probably one for each asset type in my library. So one for songs, one for links, one's for spots. And the big thing here is under the advanced, you want to probably check off that perform marks analysis. Remember, Zeta will go when it performs the marks analysis. I think I can quickly show you one example here. Let's go to grab here. And I'm just going to go and grab my desktop. And there is a little audio section here that I have audio demo. And there's a sweeper. And I want to show you this live in real time. So I can go and drag built for the broadcaster. You'll see it will queue, analyzing, make this nice and big for everybody. And this asset by itself, set my trim in, again, my trim out, and my segue point. And if there is an ID3 metadata tag, it will import the metadata as well. So if I'm a production director, I'm literally dragging and saving all these assets, putting into a location folder, having Zeta do the heavy lifting for me. And then what I'll do is I'll use Zeta to go in my link section here and make sure that everything looks good and all the proper metadata is there as well. And if you wanted to broadcast live, that's where Revma and our conference app comes into play. We have here essentially that kind of digital room. We can invite multiple users. Each user will have that link that we give them up here. And no, you can't just jump in that room. We have to invite them in the room to actually start speaking. And again, this will maintain whatever your Windows default recording device is. You can specify that here, or it'll just use Windows defaults. You go live from there. At that point in time, go to Zeta to go. I have my conference link already enabled, my hotkeys. I enable that feed, and I'm broadcasting live, controlling the on-air product from the on-air module right here. When I'm done, just close the hotkey or stop the hotkey, close the conference app, and you're good to go. And then, of course, finally, we have Zeta Cloud. There's some really, really cool stuff coming down Zeta Cloud. If you are a Zeta Cloud user, we just did send an update, just so you know. That was, I believe, on Tuesday, if not mistaken. So there's some cool new features in there. And we'll continuously update this as well. So if you have any questions, by the way, with Zeta Cloud, be it Zeta Cloud Automation, which should be available in Q4, or Zeta Cloud-based disaster recovery, you can reach out to me. You can comment, live@rcsworks.com, direct message, all that good stuff. Will put you in touch with somebody who can help you out over there as well. Yes, Steve, thanks for checking in. Steve was saying there's a lot of really cool things you can do with Selector to Go. It's really awesome. And a pro tip, Steve, definitely don't forget, I just right-clicked and did a new tab, but you can do that too. So right-click, new tab, and then that way I can have multiple stations with multiple functionality in Selector to Go. That's pretty cool for you as well. So we're about out of time for today. We have some really cool stuff coming on the pipeline in the future. I'm working on a site replication versus Zcasting. When you have multiple markets and need to share data, the idea there is site rep. That's the we activity. We share audio versus Zcast, which is a push. You get this audio, right? And we'll talk about certain functionality with Martin Blazik, who is our Zeta developer, lead developer, product manager. He'll be talking about that. That's coming down the pipeline. I'll create a Facebook event for that. Also today, you'll see also we're going to do these questions and answers during a timer of workflows, but we're going to do it in Spanish. That's going to be on Tuesday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Really looking forward to that as well. If you have a Spanish station or any kind of clients you have around there that want to learn more about this, we'll have a Spanish translator on with us as well to help go and talk about some of these workflows in Spanish for you too. So I'll have an event for that later today. And of course, as always, if you're watching this archived, that's fantastic. We're going to archive all of our videos on our Facebook page under video section. They're all broken down by product. We'll also have a video link soon that's being worked on right now for rcsworks.com. Otherwise, just go to the blog section, and all the high-quality videos are there as well. And there's some great ones in there, the many faces of Zeta voice tracking and much more. If you're curious about seeing a particular topic, don't hesitate to poke me. I'll point you in the right direction of one of those great videos. So last call for checking in. I think we're good to go. So that's it for today. I'll see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. As always, it is RCS Live. I am Nate. Have a fantastic week and weekends, and be safe. Wear your mask and all that good stuff. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.